Hi everyone, it's Gary Nicholson here for the Mountain Weather Information Service. This is your planning outlook video on Tuesday the 29th of January. The outlook is staying cold as we go through the rest of this week and into the weekend. Most terrain is frozen, extensively snow covered across the mountains. The mountains then very much in full winter mode, so make sure you've got all necessary equipment to cope with the conditions. Complications in the day-to-day forecast, but the general message for snow is focusing on Wales and even the Pennines as we go to the end of the week. Mostly just showers in Scotland, with some snow and hail always falling down to low levels. And that's as temperatures stay almost at freezing point or below for many days ahead into the valleys and the glens. Some very cold nights as well, down to -5 to -10, and possibly even lower in some Scottish glens where we see clear skies overnight through the rest of the week and onwards. These are the temperatures at 850 millibars though, and that's at around 4 to 4,500 feet, 1,200 to 1,400 metres in the atmosphere at this stage, taking you through a few days ahead. And these temperatures are corresponding pretty well to summit observations on Cairngorm, which is about at this height at the moment, which is -7. That's the value that we've been seeing. Taking onwards through into Thursday, notice there's an area of low pressure that's moving in from the southwest, the contours on this chart indicating that. It pushes less cold air into the south of England and Wales, but the zone just on the northern side of fronts will have cold enough air in amongst it to mean that most of the precipitation falls as snow. And the cold air stays very much in place across the north of England and Scotland. There may be a bit of a lift of freezing level across Wales, but I suspect it'll still be almost freezing conditions from low levels upwards. Onwards through into the weekend, and basically the cold air must stay in place. Temperatures on the summits at -5 to -8 even shown in northern Scotland. We may just gain a degree or so through into the weekend, but overall things are staying very much frozen. The forecast snow depth from the model, and treated carefully because it's a relatively coarse resolution model, but it gives us a bit of a feel for where the snow is likely to fall and accumulate. And just notice how things fill in across Wales and onto the Peak District and the Pennines. It just depends how far north fronts get in terms of how far that gets northwards up the Pennines. Not a great deal to add across Scotland, although the northern Highlands probably best favoured for clusters of showers coming down on a more north to northeasterly winds, so maybe some more significant accumulations at times coming into the Cairngorms. But the lying snow, this is going forwards over a few days ahead, will still more or less be in place. This is right through onwards into Sunday with little real change, so there's no real prospect for thaw, at least through into the weekend. Let's have a look at the charts for the next few days ahead, and starting off with Wednesday, we've got a slack area of low pressure to the north of Scotland. Wrapped around this is something of an occluded front, and bits of troughs are in the mix as well, so there will be a cluster of snow and hail showers which may well organise themselves across the north and northwest Highlands. Elsewhere, showers will come in from the Irish Sea, one or two getting quite a long way inland, but many parts of the Pennines and inland, central, south and eastern Scotland should stay dry most of the day. Still feeling bitterly cold though, we're exposed to any strength of wind. Thursday starts to see low pressure moving in from the southwest. It's a deep feature and it's running into cold air. At this stage it's making slow progress, so for Thursday for most places it's a dry day with just a few snow showers or flurries, chiefly around coastal hills in Scotland. The risk of snow setting in though is greatest for South Wales. It may nudge towards North Wales later, but the current thinking is that Snowdonia and the Pennines and the Lake District stay dry throughout daylight on Thursday, but just watch for the wind strengthening. By Friday, that area of low pressure as a broad feature is centred south of Britain, and we've got an easterly wind in charge. Fronts wrapped around the low will be trying to pivot their way northwards in a rather complicated manner. It may well be that snow falls for many hours across the mountains of Wales. Eastern hills particularly prone to that given the easterly wind, and the Pennines too. Eastern parts could well see some substantial falls if those fronts have still got enough energy on them. The Peak District, the Eastern Pennines most likely, less snow towards the Western Pennines and the Lake District, I would have thought. Showers in Scotland are still going, mostly again around coastal hills, but a few bands could push their way inland on that northeasterly wind. Always low confidence of absolute details. The charts may not come out exactly like this, but the trend into Saturday is something of a north by northeasterly. We could still have something of a front around eastern England and possibly even eastern Scotland, and that could be producing some snow across eastern hills. A few bands of showers could well be around the Irish Sea too if the wind is enough round to the north, and some showers could be feeding in on that northerly wind too to northern Scotland, and again widely of snow and hail. Away from any of the areas of snow, it should be a bright picture with plenty of sunshine and cloud breaks to higher tops. Strength of the wind will just depend on exactly where that low pressure system has got to, but could well still be strong and with severe wind chill where exposed then. It looks as though as the weekend progresses though that the wind will drop lighter as higher pressure builds in from the west, so for many places it could well be a fine but cold day as we head onwards into Sunday. At this stage, there's sufficient uncertainty in the forecast that I think if I try and show you a chart for Sunday, the detail could change enough by the time we get there to mean it's maybe not worth looking at just at this stage. But the message is staying cold, but probably dry for most places. Just to run the sequence, this is picking up the story from Friday into Saturday. This is the chart which shows you the surface pressure and temperatures at middle layers in the atmosphere. Those are the colours that are represented on this chart. And basically this is the ridge of higher pressure that's edging in from the west as we go through the weekend to just try and settle things down. Notice what's happening over the Atlantic though. Higher pressure is building a ridge, the bump in the colours that's extending from the Azores, and further west is a trough of lower pressure which would be somewhere off the south of Greenland and eastern Canada. And as that pattern just develops as we go a few days forwards, the whole sequence just shoves that ridge of higher pressure more in our direction, and that's trying to push milder air in from the southwest. Now it will be running into some extensive cold air that will have been in place for a good few days, and often that cold air is reluctant to be moved out of the way. So this process to milder southwesterlies may take a bit longer than what some of the models are suggesting at the moment, but it does look as though there is some change trying to develop as that week unfolds. So I think we'll see a lift of freezing level, likely to be some freeze and thaw cycles, a possibility that there could be a marked thaw at some point. But the detail as we go a bit further ahead becomes rather uncertain, just how the high and low pressure systems pan out. What's possible, and a bit of a seesaw action almost between the high and low pressure, is that the high that's around the Azores could just be nudged out of the way, and the low that is up towards the northwest tries to come back down again in a pattern that just puts us back into a similar regime to where we've been in recent weeks. Not all the models have got much of a consistent story, so I won't try and show you any further charts on that, but that's just the likelihood that even if we do see a milder push, we could just find low pressure comes back down from the northwest as we go through the first 10 days of February and puts us back into the patterns that we've just seen, cool or perhaps even something cold again. So we'll keep an eye on that as we go further ahead. For the time being at least, we're in full winter mode. There could be some changes to that just developing into next week. We'll see how that goes. Stay up to date with your local forecasts updated every single day on the Mountain Weather website, and we'll have the next video for you online on Friday. Thanks for watching today. Bye for now.